For those that haven't heard of Leeds Building Society, we are a UK mortgage and savings business. We are mutually owned by our 900,000 customers, or members as we call them. We have a balance sheet of £27 billion. We make a profit of over £200 million a year, and we have over 1,600 colleagues who work in the business. But the reason we exist, and the reason we were founded nearly 150 years ago, is to put home ownership within reach of more people for generation after generation. And that's why we are proud about the fact that over half of our new lending last year went to first-time buyers. It's why we're proud to be the largest shared ownership lender in the country, and why we're doing our part to try and solve the country's housing crisis by things like stopping lending on second homes.
Transformation in the context of financial services we see as two dimensions. One is essential and one is around evolution. The essential piece of transformation is around laying the foundations in the core and the enterprise around it, whether that's the ability to transact, whether it's the ability to conform, whether it's the ability to process risk. And also the fourth leg, if you like, is the ability to continually optimize that environment. To have observability, to chase down inefficiencies, whether it be from a business process perspective, whether it be from a data cleanliness perspective, or whether it's around overall monitoring, because those two things alone will kind of drive down operational costs and help expedite the speed of transformation as we go to the evolutionary phase. The evolutionary phase we kind of see as building upon and expanding out the single view of the customer. That allows then AI and analytics to sit on top to help product formation, to allow products to go quicker to market. However, if you don't update the core platforms, it will slow that process down. It's not just about the monetization of the single view of the customer, it's also about evolving the customer journey, self-serve, and also helping and build up the support of vulnerable customers. And then slightly outside of that is actually where the financial services link with other industries to strengthen their view of the single view of the customer to empower that process. Those two things are not sequential in terms of essential and evolution. They happen together and they have dependencies across both. And actually it's the balancing act of both pieces. One is helping improve the operations of business as usual. If you don't do that, you'll get distracted by that, so you can't then evolve the evolutionary side of the transformation. So that's kind of how DXC sees those two dimensions working hand in glove. Both need to happen at the same time, but there are certainly dependencies between both of them.
If we are going to put home ownership within reach of more people, then it's really important that those people find it easy to take out a mortgage with us, really easy to save with us. And so we've been investing heavily to make those mortgage journeys, those savings journeys, really, really slick. On the mortgage side, we've put in new mortgage origination platforms. That technology has meant that we are now, in terms of the time from mortgage application to mortgage offer, the best in the industry in terms of that time. And for an increasing proportion of our mortgage customers, that time, that agonising wait, and it is often an agonising wait, can take only 29 seconds. We've introduced the era of the sub-minute mortgage. And on the savings side, we're investing heavily to build out those digital savings journeys. We're about halfway through that at the moment, and those new journeys are much slicker, a much more beautiful, actually, experience for people. But at some point, you can do all you like with the front end. At some point, you have to face into the reality of the core banking system. Ours is old. All the technology ultimately sits on top of it. Ours is old. It's increasingly hard to sort of change. It's not as flexible as we need. And in the long term, it's not going to give us the resilience that we need to support this business. So we're now at the stage of facing into that very difficult challenge of starting to replace it.
So DXC have been helping Leeds Building Society in a number of ways. So we've been supporting the core on behalf of Leeds Building Society, and there's kind of two parts to that. One of the roadmap that Rob has outlined, all of the transformation around the core and the digital journeys that sit around that, we've been heavily intertwined with, working through that roadmap alongside with Leeds Building Society, all the way, as I say, through the digital and through into regulatory, but also maintaining that core and elongating its life, making it fit for the journey next ahead, and giving Leeds Building Society the runway it needs for the next part of its transformation journey.
As you can imagine, there were a few challenges in getting ready for that journey, and obviously we've had a partner of DXC helping us on that way. But what were those challenges? Well, I think the first one is just, technically what we've had to do has been quite difficult. We have a big monolithic set of systems. We've had to work really hard to unpick parts of that, to modernise those mortgage journeys, modernise those savings journeys and the systems that support it, and really shrink the problem that is core banking back to something that was more manageable. It's still going to be really big and challenging, but it's a lot smaller and more tractable problem now than it was when we started the journey. I think the second challenge that we've had to get ready is really around the capability, capacity, the maturity of our organisation and the way we work with our suppliers to gear up the organisation to do change. We've invested heavily there. We have now got internally, we've sort of moved from 200 colleagues invested in tech and change to over 300 over the last 2 years, and we've had to work really, really hard with DXC, getting us both to sort of come together in one team, really focused on the one goal, and we're in a good place for that now. And finally, while all of this has been happening, all of this change, we can't ignore production service, live service. If we don't keep our systems running, then people don't take out a mortgage, can't save with us, and that's absolutely paramount. And it's there that DXC have been at the heart of keeping this business running, keeping those services stable, and fingers crossed, it continues to be a really good, healthy service. People often ask, how did you secure, how are you securing the level of senior commitment and buy-in to what you're doing? And really, the story goes back a few years because in a simple way, it's because that is what I was asked to do. The board recognised that the business needed to change from a technology perspective. When my predecessor retired, they decided to hire a COO with a strong technology background. It's a key part of the board debates now. My senior colleagues on our executive committee spend a lot of time in transformation. We meet as an executive committee on this topic once or twice a month. And people like our chief executive spends personal time invested in it. For example, he attends our quarterly business reviews with DXC as one of our most critical suppliers. And I think a huge amount of that builds joint commitment. But it also has to be matched by building trust and building credibility, by building, frankly, a track record of delivery. And so we've started small a few years ago by just building, delivering, and doing what we said we were going to do. And that over the time has built a level of trust that meant collectively we all are ready to do this now. The first one is just to recognise that this is a long journey. You can't disappear into a dark tunnel for 3 years and then pop out and say, ta-da, it's done. Nobody will know what's happening. You'll probably appear in the wrong place. So you have to show as you go through, every couple of months, every few months, deliver some value, deliver incrementally, show that you're making progress. I think the second thing is that you have to invest as much effort in the people and the supplier relationships as you do in the technology. I mentioned before that we've recruited over 100 people extra. That takes time and effort to find the right people. We've got suppliers that we rely on. You've got to work to make sure that that relationship is working and those are really delivering for you. And then finally, and this is going to sound a bit like sort of having my cake and eating it, while you go on this journey, you do have to sort of learn and adapt and adjust because the world changes. But you also have to keep really focused on moving forward and delivering on the vision. While the world around you is sort of buffeting you, over the last few years, we've had COVID, we've had mini budget crises, we've had inflation, and you've just got to hold your course if you're really going to deliver on this. As Martin Luther King said, if you can't fly, run. If you can't run, walk. And if you can't walk, crawl. But whatever you do, you just keep moving forward.
You can really kind of see DXC's role in sort of three core areas. One is production, and production. To Rob's point, it's servicing a business today. It must continue to service the business today as it transforms itself. And our role is to keep that ship steady and to maintain those level of services to Leeds Building Society's customers and partners. The second part is to help with the transformation journey around the core platform, certainly around migration activities. And I think lastly, which kind of links to all of the points, is to act as one team, to be very tight with Leeds Building Society IT department. We have one goal, one focus, and work together to help Leeds Building Society achieve the next chapter of its transformation journey. As a closing remark, DXC has three values: customer, colleagues, and quite frankly, doing what we say we're going to do. And the work we've done to Leeds Building Society, or with Leeds Building Society, has been certainly a testament to that, to help them achieve this part of the transformation journey and what comes next.
Thanks, Andy. And that hard work is what goes into providing the technology that really supports our business. But the reason that technology is there is because at the end of it is a first-time buyer who's maybe struggling to buy a home, gets a mortgage, and as they walk through that door into that home, it's a life-changing experience. And so we are very proud of the difference that we make, of the difference that all of the hard work of DXC and LBS has gone into making that technology really support those first-time buyers. And that's why we would be very proud to share any learnings that we have from the journey. And I'm sure DXC would be very delighted to do likewise, Andy.
So just on that note, if you'd like to understand more, either from a Leeds Building Society standpoint or from a DXC standpoint, please get in touch. Our contact details will be included at the bottom of the video.